One second. Okay, Vincent, welcome.
Oh,
I can sense an accent. You're from where?
I'm from Germany. I'm a student, 21, studying computer science. Yeah, that's basically it.
Ah, you're in Lumpy?
hmm Yeah, it's
Lumpy
like,
is League of Unaligned Master Pilots. If I,
right, a mostly German-speaking alliance, for the exception with Ryload, who is the only not German-speaking person in the alliance.
he's also running for CSM, right?
Yes, he is. Although I don't know that much about his campaign, but
But he's not German.
no, he's Welsh, actually. He came mostly for Alliance tournament into Lumpy because, like, our head FC, Michael Kokal, um, is or has been on AT teams in the past years and worked together with Rideout. So they, yeah, worked together on last year's AT team.
I
That's
see.
mostly why he's in the Alliance.
Okay, so but you guys are both in the same alliance running. Did you guys talk to each other before on who's going to do it, or do you do it independent of each other?
All completely independent. Funny thing was, we have a Slack for Alliance, and there's also a Slack for EVE where we are also both doing stuff on. And when I posted my campaign thread on both, he was like, "Hey, you are the same guy," and I was like, "Yes, Rylout, you didn't notice that earlier." Yeah, so he like on most Slacks I have my real life name, and on the Lumpy Slack I obviously have my in-game name, and so he didn't know that we are the same person.
No, interesting. Uh, you're Lumpy. I wanted to ask you this. This is not necessarily about you, but I was always curious. Are Lumpy members part of the old Evoke?
There are some people who were part of Evoke. I think quite a few left with German Angels, though. Not quite sure about that, but there are not that many German only alliances in the game or who were in the game, and so it's like they all mix up in the current existing alliances. So you will always find someone from corps like Stahlsturm or Evoke in all the German alliances. So yeah.
Yeah. All right, but more about you. You're a 21-year-old player. You've been playing for about 3 years.
Yeah, I think my char got to life in 2012, end of 2012. I started playing for like 2 or 3 months, like the trial time and an additional 3 months a friend donated to me. Um, I did mining in high sec. Turned out it's quite boring to me, so I stopped playing. A year later, I was at my friend's again, and he gave me a couple million ISK. I did station trading, and that's what got me into the game again. And from then, I think with a few gaps of couple months, I've always been subbed. At the moment, I am not subbed, if you can call it that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an alpha clone at the moment because I don't really need the benefits of an omega clone, and I can play the game the way I want it, even with an alpha clone.
So you're an
So
alpha clone, a,
yeah,
a returned player alpha clone, and running for CSM.
I mean, there's not necessarily like doesn't have to do anything with being alpha and omega because I barely undog and I play most of the time doing third party stuff like programming stuff for Eve, which I don't have to log in for at all. Or when I do stuff in game, it's mostly doing contracts, selling a couple of things, or organizing stuff with other people together. And that's also quite a lot of stuff I can just do from out of game using Skype, Slack, and whatever.
Yeah,
So
that's interesting because I think CCP said they wanted to make alpha clone the alpha state a viable gaming experience, not just somebody watching the game happen. So it's you are actually making that happen. You're an alpha clone and you're able to play all the things you want to do inside the game.
Yeah, one has to notice that I don't like mining. I said that earlier, but ratting also kind of bored me. So the old or the normal style of ratting and nullsec is not for me. Like I don't have to rely on it at all for ISK, so I don't see a reason to do it.
Hmm.
I haven't checked out these mining anomalies and all that. This new interesting stuff of PvE. I probably should do that at some point. But I did moon reactions to finance stuff. I think you don't need any omega skills for that at all. I think even anchoring can be done with an alpha clone. Market trading is a bit annoying with only 17 slots, but it works. So yeah, the only things I complain about is not being able to cloak and not using interceptors. But I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
I
No,
can live with that.
it's very interesting that you're an alpha clone, and that you're able to play the game the way you want to play it. There's stuff you might explore later, but you're fine now, which is interesting.
Mhm.
But really, your focus is third party development.
Yeah, and mostly related to stuff that's important to NASDAQ alliances, like the auth systems alliances run, like maybe Pizza Auth or some other custom made stuff. I wrote my own using LDAP as the backend, like Pizza Auth did. But also stuff like intelligence gathering or counterintelligence. Like a couple days ago, we stripped one person from a neighboring alliance because they forwarded intel to someone who's not blue to us and stuff like that. Finding those people
So you caught him.
and uh,
That wasn't a spy. That's just somebody that's careless, or did you consider that person a spy?
he was a bit careless. Like, yeah, I wouldn't call him a spy because he was not actually doing it to cause harm to anyone, but he had his API keys with someone else who could read mails and standings, and he also talked to some people. He didn't leak valuable information, but it was like just being careless. So I'm not sure if he's been kicked. I forwarded the information to my alliance leadership, who talked to them, their alliance leadership, and yeah, it's
Oh,
up
so
to them to decide
you
what to
just
do with
caught
them.
him. You just caught him, and you
Yeah,
hand him over to authorities.
yeah, like counterintelligence.
Yeah, so that's kind of where your third party efforts go into, is stuff like that.
Yeah, currently I'm writing something that would resemble the Eve Gate or EFU and ZKL world using the new API from CCP, ESI. Uh, that's also something where I yeah, maybe annoy CCP a bit because they still haven't figured out how to be consistent with their APIs, like naming schemes and stuff that's still missing to be on an equal level with the XML API or Crest and all that. So there's a GitHub repository, a place where you can create issues for CCP to fix them. And I think there are still 130 open at the moment, and I think 80 of them are from me, something like this. So yeah,
Hmm.
forcing CCP to do better.
Yeah, is it says here also that you wrote Alliance authoring as a service. Um, can you explain that a bit more, actually?
Yeah, sure. Like most alliances use a tool called Alliance Auth. It's just the name of this tool. Or Pizza Auth, for example. I think, yeah. Um, for example, the culture uses Pizza Auth, I think.
The Culture
Hard
Alliance?
Knocks, yeah, Hard Knocks used it at some point, I think, but they currently use their own. Um, but those are all tools that you can host yourself. And this auth as a service is basically one hosted by me, which everyone can use though. Like it separates the information different alliances put in there. So it's like hosting your own. You have the same functionality, but you don't have to care about the hosting of it.
Mm.
So you also have access to a TeamSpeak or Mumble and a Java server and all that. You can send pings out. You just don't have to host anything of that yourself. Um, you have the ability to host TeamSpeak, Java, or Mumble yourself and connect to the authentication services of it. But yeah, not that used um, because people are paranoid. I am too. So
So people don't touch it because they think some alliance like yours, Lumpy, created this thing. It's going to absorb all the knowledge that they put into it.
yeah, I mean that's totally reasonable, and yeah, it
Yeah.
was just fun to write it and got
Well,
me quite some knowledge and about programming in general. And now this new thing hitting the new API also, um, like the old thing got me quite a few stuff I could port over.
so sorry, I'm still recovering from a cold here, but what's your view on third party in general? The things that should belong to the game and things that should be open for other people to make, so that to enhance the ability of people to play the game.
Um, like I liked it a lot when the log server, for example, still worked. That was one thing I heavily used and also published with a few other people, which in the end CCP finally fixed and closed down because it offered like everything. You could get basically every information available to the Eve client out of it and do whatever you wanted with it. Um, I liked that. It offered so many possibilities to write stuff for Eve, but in the end, you always have to think about the fact that it requires you to have the programming knowledge, so it is not available to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like the two sides of the medal in that thing. Although what we were writing collectively, I think we were 5 or 6 people, was targeted as being a proof of concept, but also being available to everyone. So it would have been a small tool you could install, and you could get all the information aggregated out of it. But yeah, so I like to have a lot of information available, but there's always this requirement that you have to program to be able to use that. And even though there are quite a lot of Eve players that are able to program, mm, looking at the tweet fleet slate, that the dev fleet channel is probably the largest channel there. Um, it's still not like that every player can program, so you have to rely on programmers. But yeah, now there are some things I would like to see in the API, like maybe an average of like you can get stats from systems like how much NPC kills are in a system, the stuff you can see on Dotland, for example, or jumps. What I'd like to see in addition, for example, would be average player count in a system. Like the in-game map shows stuff like this. Like you can see how many players are currently in a system or docked there. That's missing from the API, for example. Um,
Well, that would allow
Stuff like this.
people to look at any time and see where the populations are.
Yeah, that's why I talked with Lucia Deniard. Maybe that name rings a
I
bell
do
to
know.
you.
I know who she is. Yep, she's a
Yeah, we
programmer as
talked
well.
about it. And at first, I thought about putting the exact numbers at a certain point in time into an API like this. But this API would be cached, so you would not be able to know the count at any given time. But on the other hand, having like a rolling average would not show you the exact count, but yeah, it wouldn't show you the exact count.
So you wouldn't know how
Of,
many people are ratting in what system at what time when you get
like,
on the game.
um,
Like, because I'm thinking
I
if
mean,
I'm a hunter, I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to look and see where all the sheep are, and then I'm going to go to that system and look for people. So
yeah,
that's
if
what you would
you
be
see
avoiding.
that over, yeah, yeah, exactly. If normalized over a time frame, this wouldn't give out that much information to people who are just searching for retas, for example.
Well, at the very least, it would say generally over the last week or so, a lot of people have been ratting in this system, or
But that's already available through NPC kills. Like, yeah,
and on the map basically too, right? You can see pilots in space.
yeah, exactly. Like in game, you can see way more stuff than available through the API, and there are ways to scrape such information from the cache files from Eve, which is gray to black area. But yeah, there is way more information available in the client when just looking at the map, so I don't see it being an issue to make that available in the API.
Well, and this is a good topic to discuss. The What about people who say, like, wait a minute, if you get that in-game data and you pull it out of game, then you're able to manipulate it in different ways. So you could, produce some kind of algorithm or something less, scientific, a spreadsheet that
Mhm.
would basically tell you how to optimize your roaming path or stuff like that. And that again puts the power into the alliances that have programmers. So you become dependent on who can build your tools and stuff like that, and they will have the advantage over other people in the game.
Yeah, sure. But you also have to rely on good FCs so that your fleets work out well, right? So
Mm-hmm.
why not having to rely on a good programmer for your alliance? I think that alliances need certain personnel to run properly, like someone who's good at leading, someone who's good at doing logistics, someone who's a good FC, um, or like someone running alliance services or programmer in general. Like I wouldn't mind that. And looking at how cool stuff you could do with that data, I mean,
Yeah, that's interesting. So it's a role to play in the meta, and
in
you
my
think,
opinion, it is. Yeah.
sure, and it's an important role, and it's an advantage to have it.
Hmm.
I think if you look at Eve as Eve corporations or alliances as kind of a chess match, which it kind of is, you have to have all your rooks and stuff like that, but you need to have all your pawns, but you need to have your rook, your bishop, different roles that have different
Hmm.
powers in order to be fully effective.
Yeah.
So
It's like,
is there a market for finding you guys? Where do you guys hang out?
yeah, I mean, the Deathlead channel on the tweet feed Slack is probably where every well-known person is to be found, and there are also sometimes people who offer the services for ISK or just for the fun of it.
Where was that second place?
Just the Deathlead channel on the tweet feed Slack,
Oh,
or maybe now the ESI channel for the new API, but it's generally just more for asking questions related to ESI. So the Deathlead channel is probably the better place.
right.
There is also the Eve Tech subreddit. I think it's linked in the Eve's Reddit sidebar. Or some people also just post on the dev section of the forum and present stuff or ask for stuff. So
Yeah. So
probably someone can find it.
Tweet Fleet Slack has a channel called Devs, right? Or what's it called?
Dev
Dev
Fleet.
Fleet. Yeah, Dev Fleet. And that's where you guys hang out. And there's also a subreddit, Eve Tech, I guess, something like that.
Mhm.
And that's where you guys hang out sometimes as well. And another channel, EVI, did you say? What was it?
ESI. That's the new API.
Ah, ESI. Okay. And that's a channel in Eve. That's Tweet Fleet Slack as well.
Mhm.
Well, I think that's pretty interesting. You guys, having these extra powers. People who can't afford you guys or don't have a friend that can program and stuff would say, well, that's not fair. I mean, look at all these wormhole tracking softwares that are up. All the industry tools that are made, even by Stephen Nukin, that puts it out publicly.
Mhm.
That shows you what people are capable of, but it doesn't show you what people do privately for their own alliance. Is there a problem with
Yeah,
that?
that's true. Um, I don't actually know. I don't actually know. I haven't seen that that OPSEC stuff, like the stuff I write myself and some friends of mine write, I wouldn't consider that game breaking in any way. It's just like handy stuff for automating some out of game workflows, stuff like fittings, or just showing who in your alliance can fly what fit and all that stuff. So it's mostly just handy tools and nothing uh, too disturbing.
But we don't know because they're not.
Yeah, I
Yeah, people don't say, "Hey, look at this great tool." You know, one of the best tools I've ever
see that.
seen is Goon Swarm's GARPA. It's kind of funny, but
Mm.
it's a mapping system, and you can just plot out courses, and it combines moves by jumps plus your actual jump to a sino, so you can calculate the actual fewest jumps to a certain place, stuff like that.
Yeah, like an advanced dot learn, huh?
Mm-hmm. And that was, used internally for a long time, and then it finally got released to the public. And so it just shows you the power of some of the programmers and what they can do. Uh, Here it is, topographical survey for Goonswarm.
Mm. Yeah, but also that tool, like, just I would just consider it handy, like because everything it does can be done with Dotland with a little bit more effort. Um, so yeah,
Mm-hmm. So
it's
it's just a
mostly
shortcut.
the
Yeah.
yeah. I think you could call it that. Yeah.
So maybe that's what the well, it's hard to say that, but if it seems like everything that's done in Eve is to shortcut time, right? Like everything can be done in the game, but the third party stuff allows you to shortcut time so you can do it faster. And it becomes a problem.
Increase your efficiency.
Yeah, increase efficiency, which is what everybody does in this game, is try to increase efficiency.
Yeah.
So maybe it becomes a problem when increased efficiency. Well, it becomes a problem when increased efficiency of the other guy gets you killed. That's when it's a problem. Otherwise, nobody cares. Have you used?
And I think.
Go ahead.
Mhm.
Continue.
Yeah, and I think CCP will not implement any API stuff that will allow you to gain such an advantage that you would be able to kill players in a more or less automated fashion. So, yeah. I mean, they
Well,
removed
yeah.
the contact list and all that stuff. That was basically what helped you a lot to automate killing people.
Which one?
The contact list, the buddy list, which
Oh,
showed
yeah.
you when someone logged in.
Yeah, that was, yeah, it's kind of
That's
a.
stuff.
I would like to see third party developers develop the I win button for Eve. So they could just press it.
But no one will publish it because the
Exactly.
person who would write it would press it, and then the game would be over, right?
Yeah, they'd keep it to themselves as long as they could. Well, it's interesting third party development. Steve Rnukin again, his name comes up because he's a fourth term CSM member. He's running again this year, I believe, for a
Mhm.
fifth, if I'm not mistaken, for a fifth term. Is there room for two third party developers? And if there isn't, is it time for change or something?
Um, as I wrote in my forum thread, I don't want to replace him because I think he does a great job at what he does, like converting the SDE, the Stata export for all those people who use that as a data source, or publishing on his website with his blueprint tools or his market website. That's mostly stuff I'm not really into. Like for the first thing, the SDE, you can get most of the data out of the new API, and I love that. And that's what I asked CCP for to do more, like put more of that data into the new API instead of the old data export. Um, I use his tools for blueprint stuff, but I don't do much BPO research or manufacturing, and market is also not that what I'm into. Mostly the nullsec important stuff for alliance services and intelligence gathering, and maybe the stuff we talked about, the stats you can get from a map and all that, analyzing that data and producing something useful from it. But that's not what she does, so I think we don't overlap that much with the stuff we do. Like we
Mm-hmm.
do third party stuff, but in different ways and sometimes even with different opinions.
So it's not like third party means one thing. It can mean different types of third party development.
Yeah, there for like every area of Eve, you can like mirror it to third party stuff. Like every area can have a use from third party stuff, being it market or manufacturing or yeah, your roaming path.
Right.
So yeah. I'm not
Uh,
sure if there's room for two people on there, especially with the reduced count of CSM people.
yeah, it went down from
To
14 to
yeah,
10. Yep.
yeah. So I mean, if it would be him or me, I would probably say him because he has more experience and knowledge with working together with CCP. But I think there's
Do you think that
always room
helps?
for more.
Not to flush out your endorsement, but like you would be a new person coming on. Do you think having a somebody who's been there a few times, does that help the CSM, or is that doesn't matter? It depends on the person, kind of thing.
I think it depends on the person, but I mean, uh, having worked with the person for like 4 years is probably also easier for CCP to be honest. But yeah, I mean, I do my best if I get on the CSM. So that's about everything I could say from my point of view there.
Right. Right. I'm sorry that if that sounds like an endorsement, it's not. You're running for CSM. You're a third party developer too. There's room for two because there's different kinds of development. And who knows, maybe they can help each other. One of the criticisms that someone I know well, Lockfox, had with Steve Rnukin was it didn't protect the data that was coming out of the region. How do you feel about that?
What do you mean?
Sorry, I don't know if you're familiar with the controversy that. uh,
That Aerith talked about.
right, exactly. Yes.
Uh huh. Um, hmm. I mean, there is no, even the in-game map doesn't show industry-related stuff, right?
Hmm. Well, some, but
Um,
not real time. I mean, so it shows some. It
yeah.
shows taxes. It shows how much is produced at a certain. If you use your map, you can see what systems are producing a lot of stuff, but it doesn't show you how many minerals have been refined. It doesn't show you how much has been mined, stuff like that.
So I guess at least the stuff that's available through the in-game map should be also available through the market reports or the reports CCP Quant does, because yeah, I deem them being available to anyone anyways via in-game. So yeah,
Hmm.
I don't know. I mean, as I said, I like having as much data available to everyone as possible, but I can see that the argument, like instead of using regions, having some regions grouped together um, might help. I think that was a suggestion, but I would also not see what regions you would group together for that. For example, like if you'd group like Quarry Stealth, Period Bases together, then you'd still know who is doing that stuff. So
Because they own all that territory, basically.
yeah, so that wouldn't be a solution for that. Just removing it, yeah, I don't know. I don't think that it would matter.
You don't think it will matter. And those are good. You've thought about it, obviously. Do you have so you don't have a strong position on it, one way or the other?
No, no, not really. Like, I
Well,
don't
let's say
really care.
I'm going to take you there. Let's say we were in that meeting. Aerith says, and I guess this is all public. Aerith says, hey, you need to stop reporting this information because people can use it to figure out how many supers we're building, etc. And let me demonstrate that for you. And he showed them or whatever. And they may have already been thinking that, or they may have said, good point. But CCP did say, yeah, with CSM's, consent or approval, or not even either of those, but just advice, we're going to stop producing this. If that would have happened and you were in that room, what would you have said?
Hmm.
Because this is
I
like
mean,
not
like,
this is
would I
not fake. This is the
complain
kind of
or?
thing that happens.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, well, since I don't have such a strong opinion on it, I probably wouldn't. I mean, I would just say what the benefits and the contrary would be, but I wouldn't voice a opinion on that because I don't really have one because it does not really affect me and I can't really interpret how it would affect other people. I don't really see what you could gain from that data. I mean, everyone knows that there are quite a lot of supers being manufactured, and I don't see that these numbers that are available through the latest reports would change that much to something worse. So, I mean, everyone knows what's going on there, and I don't see how that data would affect that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just meta thinking. Like, I mean, people know they are mining there. You can look at the ADMs, you fly through there, see the industry indexes are up everywhere. People are mining. That's well known. There are so many rock calls out there. What's going to happen with these ores? The only obvious way what's going on with that is that super capital construction. So,
Yeah, and
I
you can
mean,
see the super capitals being built on the outside of this, the facilities now.
hmm.
So you can.
I don't think it's implemented in game actually. They thought about it, but I
Oh,
think they did not implement that because I know tutorials where like 15 to not more like 25 supers are being built at the same time, and I don't think the slots at the model would be enough to display all
no,
those.
I think they were going to limit it to like 9 or something, but I didn't know it wasn't implemented because I haven't checked yet. So thanks for correcting me on
I,
that.
I think they wrote it on the dev blog when they published those, and they wrote that they did not, but they thought about doing it at a later point. I
Hmm.
would have to search for the dev blog myself, but yeah, I'm pretty sure they are not shown at the moment.
Okay. Well, cool. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about that we didn't cover?
I guess we covered all the stuff that I have on my agenda and what I focus on. So I guess that's it.
And you're a young man and a programmer from Germany, Dusseldorf, in fact, which is a gorgeous city. If you're ever in Germany, I have a court
Hmm?
mate from
What?
there actually.
Ah, okay. Nice.
Yeah. Uh, well, it's nice to meet you, and good luck with your campaign. We will
Thank you.
see you on the campaign trail. There are other things to do if you are interested. Other people doing interviews, and there's a debate and stuff like that. So I
Yeah,
hope.
I'm probably going to be on the statecraft debate there. So yeah.
Oh, excellent. All right, Vincent. It's very nice to meet you. Good luck.
Thank you. See you.